First, let's talk about the problem. The issue is that businesses often discriminate against the deaf. Here are the employment rates compared between hearing people and deaf individuals. 75.8% of hearing individuals are employed, and 53.3% of the deaf are employed. An NPR article tells the story of Amanda Collar, who is a deaf woman working on her second master's degree. When Collar told hiring managers she was deaf and preferred to interview in person so that she could lip read, she said she was often ghosted or told that a phone screen was mandatory. Despite her impressive resume, she has extreme difficulty in finding a job, predominantly due to discrimination. Unfortunately, Collar's story isn't the only one. In the insightful book, Deaf Persons in Professional Employment by Alan Crimming, countless stories of discrimination against the deaf are told. According to Crimming, one deaf individual had written 750 applications but remained unemployed. I got the opportunity to interview several deaf individuals on this topic, and they helped give me insights into the first-hand experiences of deaf employees in the workplace. Every interviewee had experienced difficulties and inequitable treatment simply because they are deaf. One individual I interviewed applied for an extremely long time to several different jobs, and when he finally did get an interview, when he asked for an interpreter, they stopped emailing him. This particular experience happened 5 years ago, but it still continues to be a problem for him today. For those of you who have never encountered someone with a specific disability, the first meeting could be unsettling. In one of my interviews, when asked about the past struggles in the workplace, the individual shared that working with many hearing people over the years has often been challenging, as they typically don't know how to interact with them. If more people were exposed to deaf individuals, they would be more comfortable with communicating with them. Another interviewee discussed challenges he has faced and the reasons behind these difficulties, saying that challenges often happen from a lack of awareness about deaf culture and communication needs. For example, employers might forget to provide interpreters for important meetings. Deaf people are often forgotten. As a hearing person, it is easy to be ignorant about the needs and preferences of the deaf community. Unfortunately, deaf people are used to being overlooked. So before offering solutions to prevent similar situations in the future, it is important to address some of the key barriers and debunk common myths about hiring deaf employees. There are many barriers that prevent inclusive environments specifically for deaf employees, but I want to highlight two main obstacles. The first one is clear and accessible communication is not available. American Sign Language is a completely different language from English. It has completely different grammar structure and contextual differences as with any language, and should be respected as such. But because of these differences in language, miscommunications can occur. To help bridge the gap in the workplace, visual aids, captioning on videos, and text-based communication platforms like email or messaging apps are effective tools. Having closed captions on company videos should be a bare minimum that all businesses have the capability to implement now. 39% of businesses caption everything in a survey of 450 done by Mahoney. With the technology available now, captions should be on all business videos. A second barrier for deaf people finding jobs is education. Education attainment beyond high school is associated with positive employment and social community outcomes for deaf youth, according to Paul et al. However, education is not always easily accessible to deaf students. While schooling can contribute to achieving a good career, education doesn't stop discrimination from occurring. Despite obtaining educational qualifications and having near-perfect resumes, many deaf applicants continue to struggle finding a good job. Now I wanted to talk about some of the myths of hiring deaf individuals. The first myth is deaf individuals are less intelligent, and this could not be further from the truth. Deaf people are excellent communicators. In fact, according to Cradden, learning how to communicate more like a deaf person could improve your listening skills and make yourself heard better at work. In one of my interviews, they highlighted that deaf individuals bring unique perspectives, excellent visual attention to detail, and strong problem-solving skills. They also foster diversity and inclusivity, enhancing the workplace culture. If you get to know a deaf individual in person and understand their culture, you will realize that they are not intellectually challenged at all. The second myth I wanted to highlight is that deaf employees are expensive. This is also not true. And for example, most employees with disabilities do not require accommodations to perform their jobs. And for those who do, the costs are often minimal and may be tax deductible. Here are some of the numbers on that. 56% of workplace accommodations come with no cost, and most other accommodations only average $500 per employee. This additional effort to accommodate is not only ethical, but is also legally required. Now that we understand more about the complications that contribute to deaf discrimination in the workplace, the first step towards finding a solution is to explore what measures are already in place to address the issue. The first measure in place is the Americans with Disabilities Act. A deaf individual is never required to pay for an interpreter at a job interview under this act, and it is the business responsibility to provide reasonable accommodation for an interview. The ADA is helpful, but it is not enough. Deaf applicants are still ignored despite this legal requirement. This increasing cost for business could deter them from giving deaf individuals a chance. And I understand that businesses might not want the increased cost of an interpreter. However, they are legally required and ethically responsible to give them a chance. If they do give them a chance to be employed, they might be surprised at the benefits they receive. Even though a business might provide an interpreter, the quality of the interpreter could be an issue. According to research and reports from the deaf community, a significant portion of American Sign Language interpreters working in various settings are considered unqualified, with estimates suggesting that 60% of interpreters evaluated did not hold the necessary certifications and proficiency levels to accurately and effectively convey communication. So there's a shortage of qualified American Sign Language interpreters. An interviewer should ask if the candidate has a trusted interpreter that they already use. Deaf individuals often excel in bridging communication gaps compared to their hearing counterparts. However, in high-stakes situations like job interviews, it is vital for clear communication to be available. It's imperative to ensure that deaf candidates have a qualified interpreter and that the candidate is satisfied with the interpreter before the interview. So more funding is needed. These solutions are not enough to wipe out discrimination against the deaf, and more funding is needed for these programs, and alternate solutions are still necessary. One of my interviewees agreed that expanding laws like the ADA require more accessibility in digital platforms and workplaces would be beneficial. One solution is to offload the financial pressures of paying for an interpreter and accommodations onto the government. Having a fund for businesses to pull from for accommodations and getting a qualified interpreter would make companies less inclined to not respond to deaf individuals, since they would not be put off by the slight increase in cost. So what solutions have been successful? I wanted to highlight 3 businesses that have done significant things to allow for accessibility for deaf individuals. First is Starbucks. They have a store entirely run by employees who use ASL, mostly deaf individuals. The second is Microsoft. They have dedicated entire accessibility teams to support deaf employees. And the third is Amazon. They were the first large company to hire full-time American Sign Language interpreters. Other businesses should try to emulate this, however, this is easier said than done. A small business may not have the means to pay for interpreters for the deaf. When this is the case, there are other ways to keep deaf employees engaged. One expensive solution is to have automatically generated captions. This is a great first step towards accessibility for deaf employees. They're inexpensive, and as technology improves, the cost will continue to go down. Currently, human revision is necessary for completely accessible captions, but like I said, as technology improves, it will be easier for businesses to implement this. And besides auto captioning, there are other technological tools that are beneficial to the deaf in the workplace. In one of my interviews, they said that technology has been a game changer. Tools like video relay services, texting, and having access to my iPhone have increased accessibility. However, some platforms and systems that lack accessibility features can still create barriers. Another participant echoed this response, highlighting that it has aided him immensely. He added that while this technology is beneficial, it is not a perfect solution because the original creators did not have deaf individuals in mind. Another inexpensive solution is for businesses to implement tools like Zoom. In 2020, Zoom added the ability to pin multiple screens to allow attendees to rearrange the screen to give deaf participants better visibility of the interpreter. In 2021, they updated auto-generated captions to make them more accurate. And in 2022, they added an American Sign Language interpreter view for paid accounts. Tools like Microsoft Teams and others should make changes to follow suit if they don't have these capabilities. Businesses should take advantage of these tools to create a deaf-friendly working environment. The best way to unlock a deaf employee's full potential and optimize performance is to simply ask them about their needs. While all these solutions can be beneficial, it is important for businesses to remember that each deaf person is unique and no complete cookie-cutter method will work for assisting all deaf people. In conclusion, we examined the problem, the barriers and myths of hiring deaf employees, the legal requirements of businesses, and offered solutions that businesses can implement. Businesses can facilitate the hiring of more deaf workers by breaking down barriers, not buying into myths, creating accessible communication through captioning and qualified interpreters, and giving deaf individuals a fair chance at employment. The path to creating a truly inclusive workplace begins with challenging our misconceptions about deaf employees. Deaf individuals are talented, capable individuals who bring unique perspectives and skills to any organization. With unemployment rates significantly lower than hearing individuals, this community represents a reservoir of potential from which businesses can improve. Whatever the field, advocates for deaf people are needed in the workplace. You all have jobs, and at those jobs, you can make a deaf person feel included. If you ever interact with a member of the deaf community, treat them as a person and don't be scared. To make a deaf person feel included, it requires effort from everyone. I'd like to end with a quote from one of my deaf friends, saying that hearing individuals should understand that being deaf is not a limitation, but a cultural identity. Communication preferences and needs may differ, but with the right accommodations, deaf people are fully capable of thriving. Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, I'm so excited to ask questions.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm a
Yeah.
sped major, so
Okay.
I'm very curious about
Yeah.
all of this. I love learning about new technology and everything. But I did have a question. The qualifications for an ASL interpreter, are they different compared to other language interpreters, or do they have like the same quote unquote standards that they need to meet because it's such a different like variation compared to like certain languages?
Yeah, I don't know the qualifications for other languages, but I know for ASL, I mean, there's different credentials you can get. You can get a micro credential, or you can get an interpreter major. So we have an interpreter major at. Do we have an interpreter major at NKU?
we do not. At Consent State, there's one.
Okay. So yeah, the other schools have interpreter majors.
I wanted to ask about SID
Yes.
in particular.
Yes.
Because I was wondering about the COVID and 2020
Yeah.
and what had changed, or if there was a noticeable change, or had it opened things up, because I felt that once we could caption all of our
Yeah.
videos, that it sort of made things better by virtue of a not so great event.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want a pandemic to usher in positive change necessarily, but I'm wondering if it did.
Yeah. I would assume it did. I mean, it definitely emphasized businesses to make those tools more accessible to everyone. Yeah.
And you said the PIN screens have it, or some of the screens have an ASL interpreter view.
For paid accounts, yeah, they're
Does NKU have that?
I'm not sure.
I mean, that was University of Shell.
That's what I mean.
No.
We don't have one yet.
I think it's
I
crazy
mean, I
that
have an
they're
interpreter. This is what I prefer, the in-person interpreter. This is what I prefer, but no, we don't have.
Okay.
So there's paid accounts and then paid accounts.
Yeah. Tiers of paid accounts.
I mean, they do have the VRI, what's called VRI.
Okay.
Video relay interpreting. They will partner with Zoom. And also they have, FaceTime, they will partner. There's lots of different tools for video relay. we can add interpreters to different kinds of meetings. It's available out there, but like my situation here, this is what I prefer. Get that availability of in-person interpreters, what I prefer. But there are wonderful tools that can be added to those platforms. It means great accessibility for other people also who prefer that.
That's what I was wondering, if it's something that I could start using in my own classes and make sure that that was there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, good, thank you. Yes. What's your major?
Human resource management.
Okay.
So, I'm doing all something like that.
Yeah.
With the closed captioning, is it mainly like just on personal devices? Do you know, like when it's businesses, or do they have like designated like closed captioning devices that they can give to employees that can be paid for, where it's quote unquote a little better quality than potentially someone could buy on their own?
I'm not sure. I'm sure there's different tiers to make auto-generated captions better. I'm sure that's an option.
So I used to work at Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
And so you probably know where this is going.
Yeah.
Did you read more about the ASL Starbucks, about how they sort of make the
Yeah.
logistics work?
I will say it is near Gallaudet University, which is the
Yeah.
deaf college
I'd
in the
say,
United States. So that's the main draw.
Okay.
I think it's mostly deaf individuals who work there, if not all. But yeah, it's not things. I think that's really cool.
yeah, that's very cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how your stated methodology for businesses was the methodology that you used.
Yeah.
So did you discover that methodology throughout the process of your capstone, or did you start with, or something else? Or did you start with like, I know this is what I should do, so I'm going to do it in this order, or how did that emerge?
I think I definitely learned a lot through the process. But I had some ideas because I've interacted with many people from the deaf community.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting to hear different input into that.
I love that you gave voice to the people, your participants
Yeah.
first,
Yeah,
which is great.
I wanted to see what they had to say.
Yes, and share that with us first. too.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
What a great project. Yeah. So what is the next step for you?
I don't know.
I mean, will you seek a career in HR, or will you?
That's the idea now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for jobs. My family is here and they're from Jacksonville, Florida, or some of them have. They just moved there, so I'm looking for jobs down there and up here. So see what happens.
And they change where you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you for traveling.
Thanks for having
Well, I
us.
graduate tomorrow as well. so-
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
They're all graduating. It's not, I mean, yes, graduation, but it's also not as if you just rode up from Louisville, right? I mean,
Well,
that's a different bill. It's way down there.
Exactly.
It is a different bill.
it's a bit more-
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was really wonderful.
Thank you guys for listening.